Good afternoon, Trinity friends and family. Welcome to another Quarantine Daily Video Devotional. For those of you who've been keeping up with us, you know that we are going through the Holy Week. What Jesus and his disciples did their last week before Jesus' death and resurrection. Just to review very quickly, on Sunday, Jesus rides into Jerusalem on a donkey and the people throw down palm branches in front of him. On Monday, Jesus cleanses the temple. On Tuesday, Jesus teaches from the Mount of Olives. And then, at some point between Tuesday and Wednesday, Jesus and his group move to the village of Bethany. And it's there in Bethany, most likely probably Tuesday night, that Mary Magdalene washes his feet. And on Wednesday, Jesus is curiously quiet. Not a lot's going on Wednesday. Some people believe that Jesus and his disciples are resting in Bethany before the rest of the week's proceedings. It is a festival week, after all. But something interesting does happen on Wednesday that's a crucial part of the Jesus story. Church history usually calls Wednesday of Holy Week Spy Wednesday, because this is the day that Judas Iscariot betrays Jesus. And so we're going to be reading this story from Matthew chapter 26, first in verses 1 through 5, just to set the scene and the context, and then verses 14 through 16. So go ahead and grab your Bible, open up to Matthew chapter 26. Let's begin in verses 1 through 5. And before we read, can we just spend a few moments in silence just here together? Matthew 26, verses 1 through 5. When Jesus had finished saying all these things, he said to his disciples, "You know that after 2 days the Passover is coming, and the Son of Man will be handed over to be crucified." Then the chief priests and the elders of the people gathered in the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas. And they conspired to arrest Jesus by stealth and kill him. But they said, "Not during the festival, or there may be a riot among the people." Then look at verses 14 through 16. Then one of the 12, who was called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, "What will you give me if I betray him to you?" They paid him 30 pieces of silver, and from that moment he began to look for an opportunity to betray him. A lot of scholars speculate the reasons why Judas betrays Jesus. And what a lot of them say is that it surely can't be the money. 30 pieces of silver wasn't that much money at this time, at least not enough money to betray someone. The coin, most likely that they're talking about, the piece, is a denarii. And 1 denarii is a day's worth of work. It was the daily wage. And so 30 pieces of silver, that's a month worth of payment. Surely that's not enough to betray Jesus. It's possible. It's very possible that Judas was that miserly and that Scrooge-like that even 30 pieces of silver was enough for him to betray Jesus. But I'm willing to bet that the real reason Judas betrays Jesus is that he simply lost faith in him. A lot of scholars suggest that possibility. Judas simply loses faith in Jesus. At some point along this journey, he's been following him for all these years, and at some point, Judas begins to realize that Jesus is not the Messiah that he thought he was going to be. And so he hands him over to the religious authorities. I think that in that explanation, I can see a lot of myself, and I can see a lot of Christian experience. All of us, no matter where you entered into this faith, all of us go through a growing period in our relationship with Jesus. And we get to places in our relationship with Jesus where all of a sudden we realize, oh, this is who you are. I've never seen this side of you before. This is who you are. And so now I have to make a decision. Will I continue to pursue this relationship or not? It's very much like a marriage. When you get married to somebody, at certain points in your marriage, you start to understand and discover new things about one another. And you open up and you start to go, oh, this is who you are. And you have to make a decision at all of those little steps. Am I going to stay with this person or not? And that's very much what our relationship with Jesus is like. We learn new things about him. And when we learn new things about who he is, that affects inevitably who we are. Like when we first discover that following Jesus means following him all the way to the cross, that's a big realization for our Christian faith. And we have to make a decision. Do I want to do that? Am I going to pursue him in that direction? And so here's my advice for all of us when it comes to these big moments in our faith, these moments when we go, oh, this is who Jesus is. And if that's who Jesus is, this is who I'm going to have to be. When you hit those moments in your faith, number one, that's healthy. That's healthy. It's good to have these type of experiences because one, it means you're growing. It means that you're discovering new things about Jesus. It means that your faith is progressing, that your relationship with Jesus is progressing. So number one, it's okay to say, you know what? Yeah, I'm struggling with this part of the faith right now. Jesus asks us sometimes to give up things. Like when that rich young ruler came to him, Jesus said, go sell everything you have and give it to the poor. That's hard. And very often in our relationship with Jesus, we hit those same things. But if we can persevere, and if we can make it over those challenges, then we will find ourselves in a deeper relationship with Jesus than we were before we did it. So it's healthy, and if you can persevere and find your way through those hard things, you'll find yourself in a much more intimate relationship with him. And that's a real positive. Again, the same thing happens in marriage. You hit these milestones, these speed bumps where you start to realize, oh, this is who she is, or this is who he is, and I have to try to live with this person and make this work. But when you do, when you make that work and you get over that, you come into a new relationship, a deeper, better relationship with that person. Man, that's the same thing with Jesus. So maybe for some of you who are stuck at home in this quarantine thing, you're starting to hit some of these. You're starting to see just how tough it can be really to follow this man named Jesus. It's hard to have patience right now. It's hard to love our neighbor right now. It's hard not to be angry with our family right now. We're hitting some of these places in our faith where we're really starting to feel it. Jesus, I don't want to live like you right now. This is really hard. You're not the Messiah I thought you were going to be. Persevere through those moments. Because if you can persevere, you're going to come into a better place in your relationship with Jesus than where you started off. And so I think that's what we learn from the Judas story. On Wednesday, Judas betrays Jesus simply because he's not the Messiah that Judas thought he was going to be. Don't let the same thing happen to you in your faith. Hey, I love you all, and I'm praying for you, especially during these trying times. We're doing lots of stuff for upcoming Sunday. It's Easter Sunday, and remember, we're challenging you to dress up wear your Sunday best and take a picture of your family tuning in or streaming into our live service. Also on Sunday, and I forgot to mention this in my other devotional so far, also on Sunday, we're taking the Lord's Supper together. And so be prepared for that somehow. Make sure you have some sort of bread, some sort of juice at your home. It doesn't have to be exactly what we do at church, but also make sure that it's still reverent, and make sure that the elements you use are still honoring and worthy to be used as symbols of Christ's body and blood. So just keep that in mind. But on Sunday, we're going to take the Lord's Supper together during our online service. That happens at 11 a.m. this Sunday, Easter Sunday. I look forward to seeing you all then. Love you so much. Call me if y'all need anything. Bye-bye.